My name is Marcus Lee. I'm a graduating senior sociology major at Morehouse College, and I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina.
I'm Brandon Hill, sophomore political science and African American studies double major from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I attend Stanford University.
Really prominent teachers in my high school sort of disparaged Morehouse. They were like, "We've never heard of this school. It's a black college. Why go to a black college?" I had one friend I remember, and I really respected him. And he put me aside one day and said, "Marcus, don't go to Morehouse. It's like a black school. Go to a good school because you have good grades and you have a high SAT score."
I was indoctrinated to think that HBCUs were irrelevant, and that perhaps that they didn't have as much to offer as other institutions, and I didn't really know that many people who had attended HBCUs.
Before I came to Berkeley, I liked Morehouse for the community. I liked Morehouse for like the social activities. I liked just being around other black people all the time, everywhere I went. It taught me so much about black people. It taught me lessons that I don't think I could have learned anywhere else, lessons that aren't in textbooks.
Events like Code of the Mystique and NSO and Homecoming and various things throughout that one semester there that really changed the whole trajectory of my life and the whole way that I viewed the world. Being able to see an institution dedicated to black male excellence was something that was just like mind-boggling to me, because where I came from, so many black males were unable to make it, and I was one of the few. A lot of black men my age I did not see prospering. And so I went to Morehouse, and just being able to see black men starting businesses, designing clothes, running for office, getting internships, wearing suits to class, killing the game in every way. I was like, wow, this is completely different. So I internalized that. I actually wrote a poem, if you will, a graduation speech.
You see, it's a new day in our land and the sun rises at Morehouse College. This is the palace of mahogany scholars. This is the kingdom of chocolate knowledge. This institution is crafted by the hands of divinity. And now I say thank you to the men who with a word and a chisel reinvented. And now, as I leave and head west with the insignia of an alma mater emblazoned on my chest, I can go confident out into the world as a man of Morehouse.
And so I feel like it was really a kingdom of black excellence that I had really never seen before. And having that image in my mind really reminds me that it gives me a grounding and an anchor and sense of self and black identity, so that I can walk confidently into any room.
But I also disliked what I thought was the academic sort of the lackluster nature of the academics. I thought that it was I thought Morehouse was basic, for lack of better words. I thought it was just, I don't know. I wanted to do exchange because I needed help with my research. So I needed to go somewhere where I would have access to scholars who'd be able to help me. I also did it, and I'm learning about this in hindsight. I think I also did it to sort of challenge myself. I needed to know that I was smart even beyond Morehouse. I needed to know that I was just smart in general. I wasn't just an A student at Morehouse, but I was just the A student in general. So I had to challenge that sort of internalized racism that I had about HBCUs. Academically at Berkeley, the biggest difference I think is that professors believe in students more than I think that they do at Morehouse and HBCUs. There's an internalized racism among professors at HBCUs where they think that they have a lower caliber of student than at another school. So I need to not make this syllabus so hard because I don't think my students will be able to get it. I need to have a lower expectation because I think these black boys at Morehouse won't be able to understand. But what's interesting about that is that the students aren't smarter. They're the same caliber of students. They say the same things in class that students say at Morehouse. And I think the social dynamics of the classroom are different, like the demographics. Sharing intellectual space with white folks again is interesting.
What does that mean?
Well, I think that at HBCUs, race is assumed in every conversation because we're all black. And so we make things personal to us by finding out the racial implications of the ideas that are presented. And in Berkeley, people don't know race if it's smacked them in the face. So like, for instance, we read Beloved, in our class about slavery, racism, historical trauma, racial hysteria, all those things. A girl in my class did her presentation on Beloved, and the subject was Greek mythology. And to me, it was like, did you read the book? Is this for another class? Are you taking a Greek mythology class? You put up the wrong slide? Because you could not have possibly read Beloved and picked the widest thing to present about, the widest thing you could have thought about. Greek mythology? There was nothing in the book that you could have presented on. Slavery, historical trauma, none of those things.
There was a post on Facebook the other day, a woman from somewhere said that 4.0 at HBCU was nothing compared to a 4.0 at PWI. And I looked at that and I was like, that's so false. I never grinded so hard as I did at Morehouse in my physics class, in my English class, to get, I got an A- in that physics class, but I literally had worked harder in that one class than times at Stanford in all four of my classes combined. And there's other things like grade inflation at a lot of these elite universities that we can't pretend doesn't exist. A lot of times the average GPA at a PWI, or at least at an elite quote-unquote institution, is probably a lot higher than elsewhere, in part because the grading scale might be a little bit easier.
At Morehouse, for me personally, I couldn't even hold on to racialized notions or racist notions about black people, even if I wanted to, right? Because everybody's disproving those every step of the way. Whereas here, in such a minimally black space, racist notions run rampant. Like, so short of a person being in a race-critical space intentionally, short of a person being in a class with a very good teacher who teaches people about racism and race relations, racism will go uninterrupted here, everywhere. It'll be everywhere. It'll be in your room. It'll be in the classroom. It'll be on and around campus. I mean, I remember walking to a student center and seeing like this group of white and Asian kids dancing to House Party by Meek Mill. Why? And singing along to every word, and just, y'all couldn't think of another song to sing along to or to dance with? Or witnessing Asian people casually call themselves the N-word. Like, it's a cool thing to do. And knowing that even if you exert your energy in this moment to tell them to stop, they ain't gonna stop. You're gonna walk up the street and hear somebody else do it. And so socially, I think that it's particularly troubling for black people to be here. But again, this is my experience as a person from HBCU, and I think that I talk to a lot of black students here about this, and they disagree. They're just like, we're fine, we making it. I'm like, look, if I was here for 4 years, I'd have to be in therapy every week. I would be in the therapist's office with my feet up, like, look, something ain't right.
I always reflect and say the only two campuses I could see myself as a student, at least for college, undergrad, would be Morehouse and Stanford. Within Stanford is kind of, as some of my friends have said, it's like a mini HBCU. You have the Black Community Services Center, you have the Ujima House, you have the Harmony House, which we have the music. You have kind of like a little HBCU right here at Stanford. And, every so often you'll have students make off remarks to you. But those are on the very, very few, and much fewer at Stanford than I ever got when I was, at home in my high school or any place else. So I'm not, as far as, the racial atmosphere at Stanford, I think is, I'd say on the whole, very, very good.
I don't like this place. That was good enough, way to expel all of my internalized anti-black notions. Well, they say when you are away from something for a while, you get a chance to miss it, and then you love it more. And so I think the biggest thing for me is that I consider Morehouse more of a sacred place now. I'm going to make it my personal mission to get back to teach the gospel. And the gospel is that Morehouse is where you belong, people. That you need to treat these grounds like the sacred grounds they are. That you're learning things here that people can't learn anywhere else.
Stanford is home. Morehouse is home.
This is Travell Anderson with the Peninsula Press, a project of the Stanford Graduate Program in Journalism.